Mike, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and introduce yourself as well as your company.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Mike Pocisk. I'm a real estate agent. I live in Greenville, South Carolina, but I actually work in the both of the Carolinas. I've been with Savvy Realty, who's my company, for about 3 years, but I've been a realtor for about 8. Savvy is under the EXP umbrella, and we help investors find and sell short-term rentals. So when you think of an Airbnb or VRBO, that is our focus, trying to find good ones, profitable ones for our buyers, and then helping our sellers sell them as well. So
Awesome. Appreciate that. So, Mike, I want to start with a career arc because it's not a typical path into real estate. So, you spent years in mortgage serving default operations over at BB&T, Ally Financial, and Roundpoint, where your entire job was keeping basically people out of foreclosure. Then you became a realtor. You've described those two chapters as the same mission. What does that actually mean to you? And then, what did being on the bank side of a mortgage teach you about what homeowners actually go through that most agents never see?
yeah, great question. So yeah, obviously the beginning part of the first 20 years of my career was in mortgage default. As you said, helping people stay out of foreclosure. So I managed several divisions around, bankruptcy, foreclosure, collections. It's not the most glorious thing. It doesn't, it's not something that you look forward to every day. But one of the great things about that is we also had tools in our tool belt to help people stay out of those things called loss mitigation. So that was the exciting thing. Hey, if we could do something to help those folks, and you remember, 20 and 2008 to 2012, it was a nightmare. Obviously, folks were having a difficult time keeping their mortgages, paying their mortgages. The credit, the underwriting was obviously a bunch of stated income, and just turned around and burnt a lot of people. So it was a very difficult thing. It's a very tough part of my career, Kyle, but I learned a lot. I learned, a lot about the real estate business. Unfortunately, I learned about how homes can lose value, and people that have those mortgages on those homes obviously can't hold on to them, how that process works. So I've been able to take a lot of that into my current role, helping people buy these profitable short-term rentals. And it's been key to making sure the underwriting is sound. The pro formas that we have are going to deliver the financial expectations that we think they can. It is obviously real estate's a risk, but it is something that's really intertwined between what I learned in that difficult part of the economy and housing market to what we're trying to do now, and that has really helped investors gain wealth
Mm-hmm.
through this short-term rental tool. It's a very viable way to do it. And we're seeing a lot of success with not only in the Carolinas, but all across the country with Savvy Realty.
Awesome. So when you made the decision to go into real estate, why did you specifically go toward investment property and short-term rentals rather than just becoming like a, traditional residential agent? And then what kind of pulled you in that direction?
Yeah, so I did the traditional thing for a couple of years, right? I'm going to show homes and subdivisions, spec homes. I'll have somebody coming into town. We'll go look at 8 of them
Mhm.
in different parts of Charlotte or wherever that may be. And it got very mundane, right? I couldn't tell the difference between home 1 and home 4 and home
Right.
6. And where the short-term rental, the investment side, I really felt a lot of compassion on that because I had one, right? I purchased one in 2012 in that downturn. And it's just, you're going to look at homes that, for me at least, that are like cabins in the mountains, right? It's not those typical 8 spec
Really cool.
homes.
Yeah.
It's a property where you're going to have neat views or creeks, and you're just, you're driving to it along beautiful countryside. So,
Mhm.
as a realtor, I just felt like that was probably where I could give my expertise, but it was also, I had a little bit more passion being able to do that type of property versus, a residential realtor that became a little bit monotonous.
Sure.
This is an exciting part of the industry, that having this niche is energizing, and there's, again, I'm helping people make money, and that's always a fun thing.
Absolutely. And I almost feel like too, people are using these STRs for their vacation or just an experience, right? You're kind of feeding or attributing to that experience as well for these people by, them finding these properties, being able to experience it for themselves. Pretty cool. I think it's a really cool aspect of real estate. So I know that you own, is it two STR properties in North Carolina?
I have two. Yeah, they're both in
Okay.
the
Yeah.
mountains, of North Carolina, high elevation, not far from
Hmm.
skiing. One's in Boone. That's the one I bought in 2012. It was a foreclosure REO bank owned asset
Hmm.
that I got a really good, obviously, purchase price on it, and I've really built that, put a ton of amenities into it, and I'm seeing huge profits because it's probably the best one in the region. Again, that one's in Boone, and the other one's up by Hatley Point, a little north of Asheville, another ski kind of resort that is new and pretty exciting. If any of your audience has ever been there, they would understand it's a very much a newer, modern way of doing skiing. They
Hmm.
limit their number of people that can go, but yeah, lucky enough to have a place, right pretty much on those slopes.
That's amazing. So, what was it like when you bought your first one? What did you not know going into it? And then what did the operational reality of actually running an STR teach you that like really no amount of market research could have taught you?
Yeah, back then it was obviously an infancy type of concept. We had no idea. My wife and I, we had, through our W-2 jobs, we had some income, and we were really looking at it more for a lifestyle property for us.
Hmm.
We, obviously wanted to make some return on it. And talking to our realtor at the time, it was interesting because he's like, well, Mike, you may only get about, 20, 30% of your expenses back in revenue. And we said, that's a little bit less than I thought. But, we found a great home and it was a great value. And we didn't know anything going into it, Kyle, how it worked. I mean, obviously, I was still with banks at that point. But
Hmm.
we learned some things to do, some things not to do. We started with a property manager and we learned, that's not always the best route because they don't always have your interest or your best interest at heart
Hmm.
because they're managing several hundred properties where you are just managing yours. So I always try to promote through my education, through my experience for my buyers to manage it themselves because they know exactly what's going on. And I try to help them since I have a couple do that. And it's obviously you're not paying somebody 20%, getting into your profitability as well. But that's going on 12, 13 years. I still reinvest in it. My first one, I just put in a golf course or 9-hole putt-putt course in the backyard.
So, so cool.
Cost a
Yeah.
lot of money, but I'm the only one that has that, right?
Yeah. That's
So
really cool.
key amenities are crucial. We're seeing outdoor amenities be crucial, but having my own is I'm learning as well. So,
Hmm.
but it gives me the flexibility, or it gives me the ability to tell my clients, "Hey, I've been there, I've done this. This is what I have. Here's my websites and my homes. You can see. I'm not just telling you, just to tell you. I'm proving that I've done this myself, and I have that experience to do these things, find the right amenities and the right things to make these things
Yeah.
super profitable."
That's amazing. Yeah, great. And then so you joined Savvy as their Western Carolinas expansion agent. This is a team that's closed over $355 million in short term rental transactions. So what does being a part of that team give you that you would not have as, let's say, like an independent STR agent? And then what does the Savvy process actually look like for an investor from first conversation to closed deal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the most tenured agent besides our CEO, Tyler Kuhn, and it's been 3 years with them. So I've seen it grow, right?
Mhm.
It's a fast moving company. They're cutting edge technology. And I feel like I'm in the right spot based on what's important to me and my goals and my values. So yeah, so Savvy, I think we have about 30 agents now all across the country. We specifically focus on short-term rentals. Every one of our agents has their own, so we can talk the game and whatnot. So it's exciting to see that grow. And I think to answer your second part of your question, from an investor standpoint, it gives investors, I think, a lot of comfort level when they're working with not only an individual agent, but a whole team that's only focused on this niche of short-term rentals.
Mhm.
So they feel like from the beginning, you're getting people that understand what you're trying to do, what you're trying to invest in. So a typical investor would, maybe hear about us. We have a pretty good marketing effort. We have a lot of business partners that are in this industry that, we give them leads, they give us leads. I could talk about those a little more in depth, but we are the biggest short-term rental team in the country through EXP, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
EXP is a big place, but that typical investor is going to call in. They're going to get somebody that kind of talks about savvy and then what we do, and they're going to kind of hear what their goals are, where they're trying to invest, and they're going to sort of what we call market match those investors to a market that makes sense for them. Maybe it's location driven, maybe it's lifestyle, or they want to be near the beach, or West Coast, East Coast, and they're going to give them maybe one, maybe three different markets to start talking to a real estate agent like myself, and really hearing more about why that market is great and why it may be a good fit for them. We're going to probably then start sending them some homes that we've looked at and we're comfortable with and it fits their buy box. And they go through those, and maybe it's a matter of sending them a video or whatnot. A lot of my clients never even see the house, and it's a very odd concept for me, and it's very scary. At least it was in the beginning, that they're getting all the way to closing without ever stepping a foot in the home. So they're depending on myself, they're depending on the videos, they're depending on our experience, our comps that we find that say, hey, we think this home can do X income. And we're going to support that because we've gone and done our research around three other ones in an area that are similar, that are making that money that we're projecting this one to make. So it is 80% investment kind of a consultant, 20% real estate agent
Okay.
at that point. So
Yeah. And so you kind of described using tools that predict short-term rental income for any property of interest. So walk me through how you actually underwrite an STR deal for a client. And then what does that process look like from the first call to the point where you're ready to make an offer?
yeah, I mean, I got several examples right now going on. So the first thing that we do, and this works differently than a typical agent. Typical agent is going to listen to that borrower and say, okay, yeah, I understand you want a 3 bedroom, you want this for your home, you're looking for vaulted ceilings, open floor plans. And then we take that information and go find a home. We
Mhm.
work differently. We go find homes that we think are profitable because we can see in our tools that we have, Air DNA, Rabu, to name a few, B&B Calc. There's several out there in this industry that help us identify, okay, how much income can we expect this home to make? Because it may not be a short-term rental today. And we can then take those comps and calculate what that revenue will look like. We'll then go look at the expenses. We'll do a pro forma, Kyle, where we say, okay, well, here's the taxes. Here's what your cleaning expenses would look like. Here's our recommended upgrades to get it to that top 10%, 15% of your competition. And we say, hey, okay, so this home could cash flow X based on all of these deals. And most of our folks are looking at cash on cash ratios, return on investment ratios. So they're very savvy, lack of a better word there, but very savvy financially with what they're trying to do. And a lot of them, it's not their first one. So if it's a first time one, it's a different conversation. I'm kind of holding their hand, giving them confidence, showing them some case studies, really walking through, why that market is good. And if it's a repeat person has done a lot and they just want to diversify their portfolio, that conversation's a little bit different. And it's
Mhm.
more likely that they may never step foot in that house, at least all the way through closing. So yeah, they make that call, get that market connect. They call me, we talk about those. I try to understand what their goals are. I understand if this is their first time or this is a multi time investor. And then I'm going to start pitching those properties that they'll eventually say, okay, let's go take a video of it. I'll walk through it with them. We'll kind of answer a lot of the questions that I may not know, they may not know, and really try to nail down the financials, where it's located, and all of those things that make for a great, again, top 10 to top 15% of their market opportunity. And we put it under contract, and it then becomes kind of typical transaction, right? So then you're going to have an inspection. You're gonna probably negotiate some of those items. You're going to go through an appraisal process, and you're going to get to closing. So that part is really the same. where most agents sort of hand off after being done after closing.
Mhm.
No, we don't. We help them then launch their Airbnbs. We find them cleaners. We find them handyman. We help them figure out what amenities make the most sense. So I'm done getting paid, but my objective at that point is to get this individual, this investor, that this isn't their only one here, that they're very
Mhm.
successful. So they're going to come back and say, "Hey, Mike, that's working. Let's find another one that makes sense. That maybe isn't right next door, but is across town." And they can then start gaining, or reducing their expenses because they already have a cleaner, they already have a lot of these things, and are able to use their platform that they built or whatever to be able to use for that second, third, fourth home and start scaling and then earning additional money. But so yeah, that's sort of the process. I have several investors that have done more than one, and that's exciting. Um, they trust me, I trust them, and it works well. I mean, it's a very tough thing to do if you get a realtor that just doesn't understand short-term rentals. There's so many factors, so many things that are important that's going to be important down the road to align yourself with an investor with me.
So I know a hurricane hit Western North Carolina hard in 2024. More than 1,400 SCR units left the market, but you have been there through the whole recovery. So what does the market actually look like right now for an investor who's considering coming in? And then where's the real estate or the real opportunity heading in the second half of 2026?
Yeah, that was something. Living in Greenville, it came right through here too.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, my our home was all right and neighbors were okay, but knocked out power for 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
I think I have two clients that one, their home's gone, and another one, it was, severely damaged. They were on different rivers. So it was real, it was tangible, it was tough. And we're seeing those markets. Asheville's kind of recovered. There's still a couple parts down by the river that haven't completely recovered, but it was a tough thing. I think my two homes, all of my renters got wiped out from September 10th, I believe is when it hit, all the way through the end of the year. I mean,
Wow.
just gone. So, that's real numbers that impacted, us as investors. It's people that, couldn't go on vacation. Hopefully it's a one-time thing, but it was something that was tough to go through, but the area's recovered. Lake Lure, it's a great example. It's shut down. It just reopened just this summer.
Oh, wow.
So people are coming back and are coming back stronger than ever. And people remember all those vacations
Mm-hmm.
and hey, we can go back. Let's go back there. So a lot of people got out of the market. A lot of investors sold. I think a good 10 to 15% of the inventory went away. They just weren't making money and felt that, it's time to exit. So that provided opportunity for new people coming in that, hey, this is a market. This is a vacation market. People are going to come back, right? And we saw that pretty quickly. People still go skiing. People still go hiking and whitewater rafting and all those things this region has, and that's been exciting, and it's coming back stronger than ever. So what a great opportunity if your competition's down 10 to 15%, and people are coming back now like never before because it's been 2 3 years since they've been to that region. People are going to really start making money this year and next year, and that's exciting for us in the business.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to go to your kind of connection to the Carolinas. So you've lived in the Carolinas for over 40 years and went to college in Boone, which sits right in the heart of the mountains you now serve as a specialist. So how much does that personal history in this region matter when you're sitting across from an investor who may have flown from across the country, from California or New York, and wants to know where to buy?
Yeah, it factors a lot, right? It's not just Boone because I've been in this region. I travel with my family. We go different vacations. So there's so many different small towns that make up my market, right? You probably have heard of some of these, whether that be like Cashiers, Boone, Banner Oak, Blowing Rock, Hendersonville, Black Mountain, Waynesville. I'm not going to name them all, but I know about all of those, right? So I've been to all of them. I've sold in all of them, and I can tell the nuances between each one. What makes them good? What makes people want to come there? What are those things? If for example, Waynesville, hey, it's right next to Maggie Valley. They got skiing over there. So when you go purchase over there, you're going to get that winter months of income where a lot of those towns I just mentioned don't have that. Well, maybe
Hmm.
that's important to them. Their family likes to go skiing if they're going to go, or they can really relate and they have a vision when they go decorate their home. They're gonna make some skiing references and design around that. So all those towns I know really well, and they're all kind of different. A lot of them are nice little hallmark places. I know the local restaurants to go to, breweries, whatever those things. So when we go visit those, I'm going to give them the highlights of that. So when you're coming in from the West Coast like and you maybe heard of the regions, you've heard of the Smokies, or you've heard of probably Gatlinburg. You have
Hmm.
no idea the western part of North Carolina what it offers. I'm going to be able to be their tour guide, their chamber of commerce person. And it's not, and if they're not ready just to go look at houses, they want to touch and feel the area. I'll give them that tour. I'll give them that tour guide tour over a weekend. We'll look at a couple homes, but just giving them, hey, why do people come here? And what's important in this area that you really need to focus on is going to give them a lot of confidence when they just don't understand it.
Hmm.
And I have stats, I have all of those things about, how many there are in each of these little communities and towns and where the sweet spot is. Is it 2 bedrooms? Is it 5 bedrooms? Is it skiing? Is it not skiing, as I mentioned? But really trying to figure out, okay, this if this is your buy box and it's 800,000, I'm not going to put you over here because it's a sweet spot over here at 300,000. I'm going to put you over here where they have a lack of 5 bedrooms and here's the numbers and here's kind of where I would focus your attention when you're buying because you can make the most money when you follow that. So
Hmm.
having those tools to find those sweet spots, those gaps where supply and demand situation, right? That
Yeah.
that you can then feel, hey, I got a leg up on where I'm investing. Is it always going to work? No, right? You have to. There's so much more than just finding the right house in the right location. You got to be a good host. You have to be a good marketing person. You have to be a good communicator. You have to put in the right amenities. People think it's just finding the right place and the right house. That's only about
Yeah.
40% of it. End of the day, you
Yeah.
as you're the person doing this have to be able to do those other things to make this work, to get in that. Again, I'm going to say this probably several times in this podcast, getting that 10 to 20%, because that yield curve isn't a straight line,
Hmm.
right? When you get in that top 20%, you start seeing vertical income going up because you are one of the best of the best. You
Hmm.
have the best place. You stop the scroll and help really generate more income when you're beating your competition in various ways.
Yeah, that's very well put. So I know you operate across 2 states, 2 different property types, and then a wide range of small mountain towns simultaneously. How much of your workflow is technology driven at this point, and then what specific tools, if you do use any, have actually made a real difference in how you serve clients?
Yeah. So I've talked a lot about the mountains in North Carolina, but some of my best urban income producing areas is Greenville and Columbia, South Carolina. They're emerging markets, right?
Hmm.
There's just not a lot. It goes back to supply and demand. But the one thing you have to worry about in urban markets, more so than vacation markets, is regulation, right? So there's a lot of towns, a lot of cities that this is new to them, this whole short-term rental concept, and government's going to say, okay, well, what do we do about it? We put in rules, regulations. So as a agent with Savvy, one of the most important things that I have to do is keep track of those, right? So
Hmm.
so using AI to help me kind of really understand what those regulations are looking like, those changes, who's making the changes, what does it mean? Um, it helps me really get my arms around what that is because there's just so many, right? In Greenville alone, we got 25 municipalities and they all kind of want to do their own thing, right? So
Right.
we got the county, we have HOAs within these communities. So it's a big thing. And if you don't have an agent that's really familiar with that, you could buy something. If you spend $700,000 on an asset and come to find out you can't even do a short-term rental,
Hmm.
guess what? You're not going to be happy with me, right?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
all, at all. So it's something that I use AI and use technology to really help me keep track of that
Okay.
as an example. The other one is, just finding homes. I cover a huge area, um, and helping me find these properties, off-market properties or on-market properties, and being able to find the right ones to go then cast out to my investor
Mhm.
network in those buy boxes that fit.
So it's a lot of, I guess, market research, research in general, and then kind of regulations as well, keeping up with those. That
Yeah,
shit. Yeah.
exactly.
And I wondered too previously, like, how long that would take, right, for all that research. Probably could take quite a while, where now it kind of speeds up the process a little bit, which is, it's great. It's good.
Yeah.
Um, so AI in general is starting to show up in SCR investing in a big way, from income prediction to automated market analysis, kind of like the research that we'd spoken to as well. So someone who comes from a banking background and is used to sort of those analytics behind it. Where do you think AI genuinely improves the SCR investment process, and then where do you think it kind of still misses what an operator who actually owns and runs properties in these markets already knows?
Yeah, so I mean, it it does great things again for speed, higher level, macro level analysis. But at the end of the day, it doesn't know things that are going to be important to your investment. It doesn't know necessarily, the details of your home, how nice your view is,
Mm,
right? It lumps you, okay, you got a view, maybe it lumps that category, but there's $1 million views and there's not so $1 million views out there,
yeah.
right? So like Zestimate, we had that going on the last decade, trying to unwind all these, people that say, oh, this estimate is this value. Well, you know what? That's great. It's a desktop analysis. Yeah, it's sort of along that same path. You
Yeah.
still have to go in and find what makes a property go and tick, and what's unique about it. Um,
Yeah,
so
and I think it's important too. I always advise people as well. I mean, I'm in the space of AI, or at least AI driven systems we help businesses with, and it's like you can't lose that human touch over anything, right? Like you can automate some things, but a lot of the stuff that I even advise on is like make sure there's at least human oversight. And then for descriptions and all that things, for listings as well, I'm like, try to use your own words at least, and like a human element, because I think that's very important for people when they're, reading the descriptions and everything. To your point, the people who know the properties best. You can't leave that up to like an AI or, the internet or anything like that to kind of fill that in for you. But totally agree. I think there always needs to be kind of like a human touch to every element, that you're working with. But for so while you were kind of getting to where you're at now, what's like the biggest challenge that you've had? And then for somebody starting out in, let's say, real estate or SCR properties and investing, what's something that you could kind of advise them on, or a big lesson that you learned?
yeah, I think you got to go back to what I said a little bit ago. It's not just your location and your house. I did a study. One of my places I have. I'm trying to keep this short, but it is 35 homes that are all kind of built the same. They're
Mm,
4 bedroom, look like Swiss chalets. They all have about the same view, right? And I said, okay, if it's really true that it's just about house and location, I would
mm,
expect all of these to do about the same amount of income, right? Now, some are doing 120, and some of the bottom ones are doing 20, right? So why would that be? Why could you take the same home, same location and screw it up so bad that, you know, you're only making 20% of what the high income people are making? You start looking, and you're like, okay, well, look at these pictures. It looks like they took them with their cell phone, right?
mm,
And when I look at their marketing, it just, and their pricing and their, all of these things are amenities. It looks like they just turned the key and just, and it's been that way for 15 years. When I look over here at the top ones, they've put some love into it. They've reinvested. They've got some newer colors that are a little bit more modern. They painted their cabinets. They redone their bathroom. Yeah, it takes money to do that, but I guarantee you, it's not taking what of my example, $100,000 a year to do, right? So
right, right.
maybe you're taking $15,000 a year and reinvesting. But if you started in a spot that was about an average property and you just turned the key and you didn't done anything and just trying to reap income, there's a lot of wear and tear with short term rentals, right?
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, what your property was in the middle 5 years ago is now near the bottom, and And those numbers are real. I mean, that was a situation where it was like, wow, eye-opening. And I use it a lot because it's the marketing you do. It's your hosting. What's your star rating on Airbnb? Like,
Mhm.
do you even care? You're responding. It's an exciting thing to do too. I talked to so many people said, "Oh, I've always thought about getting into that business. It would be fun. We can go vacation there, and that'd be a neat thing to do." And there's tax benefits we hadn't even talked about. It's huge tax benefits with the big beautiful bill that are now real numbers, and people are buying these things just for that reason.
Mhm.
But they just they don't understand what's going on. And now we're finding that there's coaches out there that guide these guys, to do it. They get money for it, but they're helping them along the way. So my biggest advice is I love the option for short-term rentals as part of your investment portfolio, but don't undersell what it takes to get there and to do great. If it's just for a lifestyle, it's for your tax benefit, and you want to go a couple times a year and you're fine with making, you know, 50% of your money back, yeah, we can do that. But if
Mhm.
you truly want to make some money in this, you got to find a realtor that focuses on it, is specializes in it, and you have to do those things above and beyond that property and that location that we found for you to be super successful. So I think that's my biggest takeaway for investors is to, it's fun. I enjoy it,
Mhm.
but do it in the right way for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And then the last question too is kind of a fun question, but if you had a magic wand and could resolve any challenge that you currently face right now, what would it be and why? I know there's,
um,
yeah, a lot of
so,
different
so,
choices, but it's just, yeah.
and maybe this is me, maybe it's not a magic one, but you know, urban markets like Greenville and Columbia, it's hard to sell, even though there's so many great things about being here. Um, I'd love to be able to just have folks understand that urban space is a great place to be. It's not just vacation because you have a fallback plan with midterm and long term rentals. You see markets where people aren't moving to some of these little mountain towns as much. But anytime you have people moving to those areas, you have job growth, you have people coming to visit their aunts or uncles that move there,
Mhm.
you have people coming for business, that are staying for a week or a month and bringing their family. All those things are positive attributes for a short-term rental. That's hard for me to get people to understand. They just have in their head vacation, vacation, vacation. Where an urban market is a great opportunity right now.
Mhm. Yeah. Appreciate you sharing that. Thank you. And then where can people find you at online?
Yeah, so that's a great question, guys.
Well, what's the best way to reach you? Phone number, email,
Yeah,
website?
yeah. So my email is Mike at savvy.realty, SAVVY. I think www.savvy.realty/Mike. And then my phone number is 864-567-9009. So if anybody out there is looking to get in this space in the Carolinas or just wants a general understanding of how this kind of works and how it can fit in your portfolio from a tax benefit or cash flow or appreciation, whatever. There's so many different parts that are great for this income or expense reduction. Reach out to me. Happy to talk you through it, and happy to find you that investment that really may fit in your portfolio well.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time today and for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you, Kyle. It's great to be here.